Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? I've got a very special guest here. This agent, this month so far in August, has written $20,000 in business, and this is, I believe, is only his third month selling final expense over the phone.
It's all about trust. If they don't trust you, right, they're not going to buy from you. It doesn't matter how great the product is, right? Not so much about having the most available products, but it's just letting them know kind of that you're going to solve their issue, solve their problem, help them out.
He's already cracked a $20,000 month. So, Julian, I wanted to bring you on here. I think you can offer some good advice to new people in the business, or just agents in general, as to kind of what you're doing to have $20,000 months. So, welcome to the channel, my friend.
What's up, guys? Hello. Yeah, no, I'm super blessed. Yeah, I'm. If you would have said like a year ago or even a couple months ago that I'd be doing this, I'd be like, no, So, but no, I'm super fortunate for sure.
I love it, man. I love it. So, for people who don't know you, kind of give us a brief background on how you got into the industry, what you were doing before, and what brought you to selling life insurance.
All right, well, cool. Well, yeah, my first sales position was actually in car sales.
Oh God.
So yeah, right. Yeah. So I did that for a couple of years, and I did well. Don't get me wrong, but the hours are pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I know pretty much every car guy is gonna like understand what I'm talking about here. It's pretty much brutal unless you're in like a luxury dealership. So I did that for a couple of years, and I just said, man, I can't keep working like 7 days a week almost. It felt like,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I actually stopped that. I went to something called physician recruiting. One of my buddies was there, and he's like, "Oh, you should do this, real easy." And I ended up going there. So basically taking a pay cut, doing that for 6 months. But it was a small company, so it was back when those smaller companies were actually laying people off. So we basically got in there, worked it for like 5, 6 months, and they're like, "Yeah, we have to let you go because we can't can't keep in business." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's cool." So then I basically had to figure it out, and for the longest time, I was like, "What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" And funny enough, one of my friends actually got me into life insurance. Well, not even life insurance, just insurance in general. So I actually started out at Farmers. So
Really?
so one of my buddies, yeah, it wasn't long. It was like 1.5, 2 weeks. So trust me,
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't long. Yeah, right. No, it wasn't long. And yeah, so he owned a farmer's agency. And he's like, you can do this, this, and this. You just got to get your licenses. I'll help pay for it, everything like that. So I actually started out doing P&C and life. I had both licenses.
Right. I bet you're glad you
And
got out of that.
yeah, right. Yeah. So I basically did that. And honestly, like I had a lot of old aged PNC leads, and I was working that, and I was just like, man, like everyone just wants, the newest, best rate. Like there's no loyalty, nothing like that. And I actually sold I was like the only agent selling life insurance. I never sold a PNC policy. Like my 2 weeks there, I sold life insurance. I think I had like 6 or 7 apps in those 2 weeks or something like that.
Right.
Like family, friends, stuff like that. But I actually had one of my really, really good friends from the dealership. One of his dad's best friends actually called me. He was in life insurance. And he called me up and let me know what he was doing. It was actually annuities. So before I did this, that's what I did. So I did annuities with him. We did fine. We're back and forth, but there's a big difference between annuities and life insurance as far as how the process goes. So
Sure.
annuities a lot more in depth. I mean, I had to study so much material to understand with annuities because you have to understand state laws, everything like that, client's best interest, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the process is a lot longer from like start to finish. Like you might get contact with a person with an annuity on like day one and
Yeah.
not be finished until like 3 months down the road, paid, everything like that. So the process is a lot longer. Obviously, commissions are a bit bigger, but it's just, I didn't like it. And I started looking into life insurance, thinking if I can transition. And I think I was watching one of Julian's videos. He had a day in the life or something like that. And I
Yeah.
was like, huh, that's cool. And it just kind of got me on the hook, where you can, I've always been more of a volume person, like just pump out as much volume.
Yeah.
And life insurance, you can do that, especially with final expense. So that kind of brought me there. And, I actually started with One's Insurance. was a thing here.
Yep.
And then we
3-year
transitioned.
program.
Yeah, yeah, and then we transitioned into the brokerage, and then just kind of jumped in full thing, don't even think about it, and here we are.
100%. You mentioned something that like I think a lot of agents would find strange, or I guess interesting to say the least, because I talk to a lot of people and like their goal is to get into like the more advanced markets and annuities or whatever. And usually people will like start in final expense and then they'll like move there. Like
I did the
what
opposite.
you go the opposite direction?
Yeah, I mean, all honesty, it's not that I hated doing annuities or anything like that. So most people find more success doing annuities, like doing like seminars and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
not a lot of people do like virtual,
Uh-huh.
um, and like just phone calls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's part of it, right? But for me, the biggest thing was, I mean, at least with my partner that I had, I mean, he has 25, 30 years in the business, and he kind of said, let's focus on annuities. That's the right way to go. So I always thought, why focus on life insurance?
Yeah.
Focus on the annuity. But I mean, in retrospect, honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have started with life insurance, then transitioned to annuities, because it's such a complex thing.
Yeah.
Having that life insurance background can definitely help you. Again, I didn't have it, so I just kind of learned. I just put in the time more than most people would, in studying like state laws and studying the actual products itself, and making sure I understand A to Z, kind of what's better on this product versus this company and how it benefits the client. If such X and X, basically.
100%.
So that, I guess that's kind of it. Yeah, if I do it back again, I probably wouldn't have started annuities first, then life insurance. But you
Yeah,
live and you learn, right?
there's so many more moving pieces. Like I remember when I was selling face to face, I obviously started with life insurance. I found one annuity on a Walmart gift card lead, right?
Wow.
Went out to her, and I think it was like a $250,000 annuity or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It took like 2 months to like process everything, and before I
Yep.
even got paid from like when I first met the lady, right? I think
Yep.
we had 2 appointments that I drove out there to meet her.
Yep.
I think my total commission, because I had to split it with a different agent, was like $2,500.
Wow. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's not a simple life insurance. You can just write the app. In our case, you can find out an approval right here and then. Worst case, it goes to underwriting for a couple days, right? With
Yeah.
that, I mean, you're not dealing with such, I don't want to say smaller amounts, right? But you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars of assets, whether it's
It's like
qualified or not
it's their
qualified.
entire savings.
Exactly, right? So that's, again, you'll find a lot of, I don't want to say it's easier when you're face to face, right? But trying to convince someone to do an annuity, right? Whether it's in their best, if it's in their best interest. But on top of that, like having that not personalized feeling, right? Trying to do it virtual, you know,
Yeah.
trust me, I got a lot of like, I can't even think of the word, not even restriction. It's just a lot harder, right?
Yeah.
You have to build a trust. You have to, show them kind of why, right? You don't.
Well, then you're playing, freaking ping pong with financial advisors back and forth. Like,
Yeah,
I got
100%,
to lose that money. They've
100%.
known
Yeah,
them for years, and you're some random dude
yeah,
that called them off of a ad they saw online. Like, it's definitely
exactly,
tough. It's definitely
Ex-
tough.
exactly. Yeah, it was no easy thing, and I'm not saying I went into life insurance because it was easier, but it's definitely, it's a more streamlined process to get. It just fit me better, right? As far as the volume.
Yeah.
Right. I could definitely, I just like it a lot better. It's a faster process. It's less confrontation. Again, you trust me, you get a fair bit of confrontation with final expense, right? With telesales or
Yeah.
any, telesales job. But you're not trying to convince someone to move, all of their life savings away into one product, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It
Yeah,
makes
right.
perfect sense. So, for people out there that are watching this, they see $20,000 in a month. Obviously, that's no joke by any means. What does it take to get there? Like, what does your process look like from A to Z?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I don't like to think I do anything special. I mean, I've always been a very personable guy, right? So whether that helps or not, usually like I always get a ton of reviews, right? Which is always great. But as far as kind of what I do, I just take care of the client. I mean, quite honestly, that's the best thing. If I had one piece of advice, that would honestly be it.
Mhm.
Is not necessary. There's so many people. As much as there are good apples, and I say this all the time, as much as there are good apples in this life insurance business, there's bad ones out there, right? And honestly, all you have to do is listen and solve their problem, right? I
Yeah.
mean, those two things will carry you so much farther than anything else. And be customer service oriented. That's it, right? I mean, it's like when you go to Chick-fil-A, right? Here's a good example. They always say my pleasure. Like they're very customer oriented, right?
Mhm.
And I take that to heart, right? It's the same thing, how I treat my clients, right? I just want to make sure that I'm solving the problem and I'm taking care of them and that they're happy, right? Those three things will help with your business. It'll help with your retention. It'll help with everything.
Got it.
100%.
So it seems like for you specifically, you just really tailor it around like solving a problem,
Yep.
customer service. What would be like an example of that, right? Like, you call somebody up. What are you doing differently than like the average agent is in terms of like customer
Yeah.
focus?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, all I'm doing is, I mean, for example, right? I let them know kind of once I figure out kind of what they're looking for, right? So whether it's like what their concerns are, okay, and then from there, kind of, I try to deep dive a little bit, kind of what it would look like without it, how it would help, what they were looking to, protect,
Yeah.
what it would look like if they had it versus if they didn't. And then from there, I always explain kind of who I am, how I'm different, how I'm able to help, how, basically, in a nutshell, right, I'm able to provide the best thing for them, right? How I'm always going to be looking for the best thing for them, not for me, but for them, for their
Yeah,
particular situation, right?
for sure.
And that definitely helps, lower the bar down, right? I mean, it's all about trust. If they
Yeah.
don't if they don't trust you, right, they're not going to buy from you. It doesn't matter how great the product is, right? A lot of people are very focused on, I have to have every single carrier
Hmm.
or I have to have every single product. I mean, I know people that only have one carrier, two carriers, and they're doing well. It's not so much about having the most available products, but it's just letting them know kind of that you're gonna solve their issue, solve their problem, help them out, right? Do the best thing for them, right? So many people, especially telesales, you got to think, especially in the final expense market, right? We're dealing with typically older clientele, right?
Yeah.
Uh, they're afraid of being scammed, whatever it is, whatever the reason is, right? They're more susceptible to attacks and cyber attacks. And it's just putting them at ease, right? You're not there face to face to see expressions or, not I'm not saying hold their hand, but, be right in front of them.
Sometimes with the
Uh,
e-apps, you wish you were there to hold their hand.
yeah, right. Yeah, especially with like certain carriers with the e-signatures. Oh my gosh, it's not fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, nonetheless, that's I would say that's kind of what I'm doing different. Just make sure they're comfortable, make sure they understand who they're speaking to, and then making sure I walk them through and fall. Also explaining things, making sure they understand. Right.
Yeah.
That's I find a lot of people don't understand either what like term or whole life, for example, or certain things about policies or anything like that. Like,
They think
they
they do, but
they think
most
they
people have
do.
no idea.
And even people that have had policies before that I've replaced, right? They don't even know what they have, or anything like that. And I definitely take the time to make sure that they fully understand what they have, what they're getting into, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, so that helps as well.
Sounds super simple what you're describing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you would think, right? But I don't know. You'd be surprised. It's kind of crazy.
I would, dude. I've seen it. I've seen it, but it's like what you're describing is, it's the fundamentals of just like showing people that you care. Like they're not
Mhm.
gonna care what you say until they know that you care, right?
Right.
And I feel like a lot of it comes down to tonality, like just in the way you speak, which I've
Yeah.
noticed is something that you do really well. Like your tonality when I've heard you on calls is you have a very like laid back and relaxed
Yeah.
tonality.
I'm the same way in person, like and that's the thing. A lot of people get nervous, right, when they're on the phones. I mean, it's nothing. I just pretend that I envision they're like right there in front of me, and how I
Yeah.
would talk to them. Right? It's like you're talking to a buddy or anything like that. But like the customers can feel that, or the clients can feel that, right?
100%.
You know, like a lot of people just have commission breath is what I call it. And they're just like straight to the sale. Okay, well, you want the, you know, and it's like they skip like A, B, C, D, and all the way to like, you know, X, and they just want to get to A to Z, right? And just skip
Yeah.
it, right? And I'm sure you could get some sales that way, but in the long term, you're not going to be consistent that way. 100%.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Awesome, man. So for a newer agent that's out there or someone that's watching this video, what would be like the biggest piece of advice that you would tell them that would, you know, help them get to this 20K month mark?
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, the most cost effective way would be to make your own leads. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that way, you know exactly what's going out first, right? You can make it say whatever you want, right? But ideally, you can track it. It's not only more like cheaper, right? But you have more access to it because at the end of the day, right? Whenever you're buying from a vendor or whoever, you don't know what that lead says, right?
Yeah.
All you get is like their name, their number, you know, maybe their birthday, email, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't know what it took to get there, you know. And I know you mentioned at the time that you did like the Walmart gift cards, right? Like at that point, like, you know, it's a struggle, right? Versus where you can get targeted actual ads, right? For final expense, people actually wanting final expense products or life insurance
100%.
to cover it, right? You'll find different clientele, like 100%, right? That way.
Yeah.
I would
Versus
say
your
that.
whole state approved thing. It's huge, man. The difference is it's so massive that like
Yeah.
it's like working two different like sects of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things, and just taking. And I kind of mentioned before, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's like I'm saying it for a reason, right? Like I don't just say things to make it up. Like
Yeah.
taking care of the client's problem and listening to them and treating them like a friend or a family member, like that in itself will take you so far. Even if you're, I don't want to say like less skilled, because I'm not saying I'm not 100% closing by any means, but that'll take you a lot farther, right? And putting in the effort, right? That 100% will take you so far. That's all I've done.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't
Just
changed.
getting the right leads, not paying, you know, $50 or $30.
Yeah,
like getting
that's insane.
reasonable cost.
That's insane.
And then just caring about the people and making the damn phone calls.
That's it. You just got to put the work and show that you care, because there's so many agents that don't. That
Yeah.
you're just a commission to them, which is crazy to me. I don't, you know, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, it's wild because it's counterintuitive, right? Like if you're going out there trying to make a bunch of money and you only care about the money, you're going to make less money. But if you go out there caring about the people, you make more money.
Yeah, and it almost reminds me of like this saying that I used to use. Well, we heard at the dealership, and it's always the people. And I don't say the people that pay the most or whatever, but you know, with car sales, the people that pay the most were the happiest, right? The people that didn't were always the worst. I know that doesn't necessarily correlate, you know, to life insurance, but more of the meaning of the more that you take care of the person and treat them well, you know, the better off you're going to be. 100%.
1,000%. Awesome, man. Well, appreciate you coming on here, man. If anyone wants to reach out to you or ask you questions, where can they reach you?
You can reach me at, you can actually reach me on my email. I don't have much social media yet, so I'm sorry about that.
You shouldn't, dude. I deleted all social media. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, besides like a Facebook account that like all my family uses. But yeah, you can reach me actually. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at my email. It's going to be Julian at the Arsenault Agency. So kind of like that last name that you see, the long one that's really hard to say, arsenautagency.com. There you go. Yeah, it's French. Yeah. I'm French Canadian, actually. Yeah.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming on here. And to all of you guys watching at home, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Bye, guys.